Hey, welcome back to Spellbound. I'm BJ the Book Witch, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going over 10 books that make excellent gifts. Most of my friends love to read, but my best friend would sooner use a book as a doorstop than afternoon entertainment. But we're all different. So I put together this list of 10 books that would be great gifts for anyone. And by that I don't mean that anyone who receives these books is guaranteed to love them, because some people just don't like to read. I mean that I chose books that have very wide appeal and that aren't targeted toward any one specific genre or age group. So here we go, 10 great book gifts. First we have The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, and this one is top of mind because I did just read it recently. So, content warnings for suicide and depression. So this book is about a woman who commits suicide in the beginning, and then she encounters the Midnight Library, which is found in the space between life and death. And this library houses an infinite number of books that tell the story of different lives she could have lived, depending on different choices she could have made. So she's able to open up any book and jump into those lives. Why this book makes a good gift? Well, first of all, this is a pretty existential book that covers those sort of meaning of life kind of questions without being too heavy or sad. The reading experience is kind of like watching It's a Wonderful Life. It deals with mental health and depression with a respectful and appropriate tone, and it has a happy ending. I don't know anyone who didn't love this book. Next, we have a modern classic, The Alchemist by Paul Coelho. This book is on a bunch of those books to read before you die kind of lists, and it is a really great read. It's pretty philosophical in nature, and even people who hate to read have said that they've enjoyed reading this book. This book follows a boy as he becomes a man and ponders his own destiny while traveling in the desert. Good grief, that sounds boring. It's not boring, but it is simple, and it's written in very simple and parable-like language, and it's very philosophical, and it's written in such a way that you're meant to take the place of the boy and ask these questions of yourself. Why this book makes a good gift? Well, again, it is a modern classic and somewhat of a masterpiece in its simplicity. You really are meant to go on this quest with the main character and ask yourself if you're following through on your own destiny. It's kind of like the narrative version of The Secret, or if Eat, Pray, Love became a parable taking place in 1500. Next, we have another classic, but one that could appeal to anyone, especially if they have an adventurous heart, and that's Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. This is one of my favorite books, and it follows Jim Hawkins as he sails the seas and encounters a crew of terrifying pirates on Treasure Island. Why this makes a great gift? Yes, I know that most people don't like pirates as much as I do, and I can appreciate that, kind of. But this is more than a story about pirates. This is a story about greed and destiny and the lack of adventure in the modern age. This is the kind of adventure story that's fun, accessible, and so familiar that everyone is welcome to it. In keeping with the adventure story, this book is much more recent. It's The 10,000 Doors of January by Alix E. Harrow. This book follows January Scholar as she finds a book that leads her on an impossible adventure through multiple worlds and helps her discover herself and her lost family. Why this book makes a great gift? This book really does have everything. Adventure, a touch of romance, the search for lost family, coming of age, and a dash of suspense. But not too much of any one thing. So in this way, it really can appeal to a wide audience without being alienating. This next book is a children's book. Although technically I think so was Treasure Island. But either way, this book can still appeal to everyone. And that's The Treasury of Greek Mythology, Stories of Gods, Goddesses, Heroes, and Monsters by Donna Napoli. This is an illustrated collection of easy-to-read stories that cover the most famous myths of Greek mythology. Why it makes a great gift. Hi, everyone loves Greek mythology, even if they're not card-carrying members of a Percy Jackson fan club. Greek myths are everywhere and for everyone. And this collection of stories is simple, well-written, well-researched, published by Nat Geo, and has won several awards. This is a great way to read the stories we all know without knowing why we know them. This next book I actually have not read myself, but I've heard many great things about it. It's a mystery, and it's called Things in Jars by Jess. This mystery is somewhat fantastical and offers dual perspectives from both the criminal and the detective. This book would make a great gift because of its mass appeal in so many different directions. It has fantastical elements, a little mystery sleuthing, some suspense, and a unique time setting of Victorian London. And I checked, a satisfying ending. This next narrative is something that I think will appeal to everyone in a similar way to The Midnight Library, and that's Life After Life by Jill McCorkle. This book follows a woman who works in a nursing home and chronicles the stories and experiences of its residents, often capturing what they were thinking about or reminiscing on during their final moments. That may sound depressing, but it's really not. It captures the end of life in a beautiful way, giving dignity and attention to a period of life that is often overlooked. Why this makes a great gift. Everyone thinks about death, but nursing homes are often ignored or avoided because we, especially in the West, like to remove ourselves from death as much as possible. But this book deals with death in not only a beautiful and hopeful way, but in a narrative way that doesn't involve sadness or grief or pain, just in a normal way. Look, if you really don't know what to get someone, but you know that they're a reader, just get them a really beautiful edition of a classic, and I can almost guarantee that they're gonna love it. Barnes & Noble has these really great leather-bound editions of the classics that are actually bendy like paperbacks, and I love them, but they also have really beautiful hardcover collections and editions. Why they make a great gift. While these look like and can be collector's items and editions, they're also perfectly accessible and readable. And for those who like books, they'll like just having it, whether it's necessarily their favorite classic or not. And more than that, they'll just love how it looks on their bookshelf. This next idea is definitely one of my favorite types of gifts, and that's a collection of ghost stories. Some really great collections of ghost stories have been curated by Alfred Hitchcock, Roald Dahl, Stephen King, and so many others. You really can't go wrong. These make great gifts because there's such a wide spectrum to choose from. You could go for something campy and creepy, something to be read aloud at a campfire in autumn, like Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark by Alvin Schwarz. Or you could go for something spine-tingling and chilling that makes you look over your shoulder while you read alone. And that's a collection of like the Mammoth Book of Modern Ghost Stories collected by Peter Haining. The last type of book that always, and I mean scientifically always, makes a great gift is a mystery book. And I don't mean a book that is a genre mystery. I mean a book that is a mystery book. So I used to buy from this company called Blind Date with a Book, where they would wrap books in wrapping paper and then write keywords at the top describing what the book is about. And then you decide from those keywords if it sounds interesting to you. I've given these books as gifts for years, and people love them. There's the thrill of not knowing what's inside, the enjoyment of guessing what the book might be based on the keywords, and then the excitement of finally opening a book and discovering that it might not have been something that you would have picked up based on the cover, but after reading the keywords, it's something that you're definitely interested in. Blind Date with a Book is a great company, but they're in Australia, so the shipping gets kind of pricey. For a more local or domestic option, there's the Matchmaking Librarian. And she'll choose a book specifically for you based off of your Goodreads account. And she'll pick you out a special book, wrap it up in wrapping paper, and pair it with some bookish goodies. So there we go. This has been 10 great book gifts. I hope this helps as spring and summer birthdays are just around the corner and people are starting to feel more comfortable throwing parties again. But closer to the holidays, I'll be doing some more of these as sort of a gift-giving guide. In the meantime, I want to hear from you. What is your favorite book or books to give as a gift? And what are some of your favorite books that you've ever received? Let me know. And then tell me how you feel. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you loved it, hit subscribe. And don't forget to ring the bell, because I'll be bringing you bookish and witchy content every week. And as always, happy reading.